So it's my turn to share a little bit of Torah. And as I've already shared tonight, I've really been thinking a lot this week about our Torah portion, which includes revelation, which includes the giving of Torah at Mount Sinai. And in thinking about that, I got to thinking about radio. What a miracle it is, right? I mean, I was thinking about just to remind some of us kind of, I had a radio set like this. I think I might be like the youngest person here who had a radio set like this. You remember these kind of old radio sets, right? With the vacuum tubes in the back. I'm talking about remembering radio, right? And remembering how wonderful it was to gather around the radio with friends and family, remembering kind of that warm buzz of the vacuum tubes. I don't know if it was like heating up or like what it is that they needed to do, right? But that warm glow, that warm buzz right there in the beginning. I've been thinking about radio and just like the miracle, the way that it was able to bring people together, but also that it was music, local news, just kind of everywhere, right? It's something that you could enjoy sitting in your den or flying down the highway at God knows what speed. Your experience of radio is local, but you know it's absolutely everywhere. To kind of think about it, it kind of boggled my mind that at all times there are thousands of radio waves surrounding us, and they all contain music, information. They all become visible, audible with a simple radio receiver. As I was looking into the history of radios this week, taking a little break from Torah, from their use at the beginning of the 20th century to help aid communication between ships at sea, to their eventual commercial form we're familiar with today with radio stations and music and talk shows and all of that, I was amazed to learn that radio waves are not something that was invented by humanity. They are a naturally occurring phenomenon. The two most common sources of radio waves in nature are lightning and celestial objects, planets, stars. I want to let that sink in for a moment. In order to create the wonder of radio that all of us use all of the time, that offers us music and information everywhere in our world, one had to understand lightning in the very heavens themselves. So you might be asking, it's Shabbos, why is the rabbi talking about radios? Let me try to explain. When God comes to offer revelation at Mount Sinai to give Torah to the children of Israel, there is thunder and lightning, fire and darkness. The ground literally trembles. And studying this portion this week with my chavruta, we wondered, if we are the people of the book, if so much of Jewish life is dedicated to reading and studying and debating holy texts, then why the fireworks display? Why is this moment of revelation, this moment at Mount Sinai, not simply set in a large lecture hall? Why all the theatrics? The Midrash explains this moment with a parable. Once there was a king who decreed the people of Rome are forbidden to go to Syria, and the people of Syria are forbidden to go to Rome. Likewise, we're taught that when God created the world, God decreed and said, the heavens are God's, and the earth is given to humanity. But when God wished to give the Torah to Israel, God had to rescind the original decree and declared the lower realms may ascend to the higher realms, and the higher realms may descend to the lower realms. And I myself, God, will begin the process, as it is written in our portion this week, and God descended on Mount Sinai. And then it says, and God said to Moses, go up to God. Right? So from the very beginning, this moment, the rules change and God comes down and Moses goes up. According to the Midrash, this wasn't just a moment of revelation. It was a moment when the rules of nature were broken, the rules that had been established from the very creation of the universe. The natural order had been that some things were just not accessible to us. Some things were in the heavens and we were down here. And then all of a sudden, at that moment at Mount Sinai, the gates opened. The decree was lifted, and suddenly the divine and the regular could come into full contact with each other. And so our rabbis teach us, it wasn't just us that was overjoyed in this moment, but all of the natural world celebrated. The seas roars, the rivers leapt up, the winds rushed on and on. The whole natural world rejoiced at this decree being lifted, at the heavens, at the holy, at the divine, at God being able to come down to be with us. And according to the Midrash, and this is one of my favorite pieces, the natural world never, ever, ever stopped rejoicing. What does that mean? It means the very way the natural world worked and is understood was changed on that day. The way that you see the world outside is a world that exists in that way because of that moment of revelation. If you were to go back in time to before revelation, you would not recognize the rivers and the mountains. You would not recognize the natural world, for it too changed on that day. Just as we received Torah and it had a deep effect on all of us, both living and yet to be born, so too did the natural world receive Torah, and so too it had an effect on the natural world from that moment on to eternity. Seen in this way, we understand that the natural phenomenon that accompanied the moment of revelation, not as being directed towards us, but rather as the natural world's response to also receiving Torah. We understand that it wasn't about us to have these lightnings and thunders. It wasn't to scare us. It wasn't to set us straight. That's just the appropriate way for the natural world to celebrate at the moment of receiving such a holy and divine gift. So, back to radio. What does radio have to do with revelation, with Torah? Torah is a gift offered in the language of lightnings and the stars themselves, that when given is not given just to an individual, but rather to the whole community and to all of nature that serves as our community's home. Radio spreads out far and wide and has an effect everywhere, even if we aren't aware of it, even if it is invisible to us. That is, until we turn on our receivers. When we turn on our radio receivers, suddenly we become aware of a whole world of information and beauty that evades our senses just moments before. So too, we must understand Torah. Torah is a gift that has been given to the whole world, and its energy has spread far and wide, literally changing everything from the moment it was given till now. Everyone, everything, according to the rabbis, was affected by that moment, that the heavens and the earth ended their years of separation and came together. Yet for many of us, that beauty and reality are hidden from us. Like the music of the radio when the receiver is turned off, we don't see Torah and revelation everywhere. So how do we turn the receiver on? I'll admit I don't always know. Tradition teaches us that we do so through prayer, mitzvot, and study. But to be truthful, I'm not sure that this is even the right question or the right answer. In thinking and learning about radio this week, one of the things that really amazed me was how early on in the invention of radio, it was used to broadcast music. In essence, as soon as one could transmit a voice reliably and clearly over radio waves, they started sharing music over the radio. I thought all week, why music? Why not just news and information? Why not use radio as an emergency service or simply just for the military and nothing else? And I think the answer is clear. It's an answer I think that all of us have deep inside of our gut. If something is going to surround us at all moments, if it's always going to be there, if it's going to forever change our world, it should offer beauty and joy. It should offer music. Simply the question seems to be, how could radio not have music? How could it not be used to spread joy and connection? It's everywhere. What else would you do with it? So too with Torah. If we are to understand that Torah was given in a way that was not just for us, but rather was given to the whole natural world and whose revelation physically filled and changed the whole world, then we must not ask, how do we see Torah everywhere? For just trust me and the rabbis, it for sure is everywhere. What we must ask instead is, when I turn the receiver on and receive those radio waves of Torah, how do I adjust my tuner to receive and spread joy? How can I, in each moment, knowing that Torah and revelation surround me, tune in and hear the music that will drive my soul forwards towards the capital G good? The answer provided by our tradition is simple. Where you wish to tune in, to share yourself and your Torah with others, where you wish to connect with revelation that has changed everything, you have to reach out. On the phone, in a handwritten note, over Zoom, or out for a social distance walk, you have to connect with others and share your thoughts and feelings. And then you'll be able to tune in and see the revelation, see Torah, see the divine in your space and everywhere. Our rabbis teach, one who studies alone is prone to wickedness. One who studies with others invites in the divine presence. So like we all used to do, we have to gather around the radio set with some loved ones and listen to the music and teachings that have surrounded us ever since that moment on Mount Sinai. I hope you can tune in. Good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom.